Okay, so you're prepping for a secondhand shop manager interview.
That's awesome.
Get ready for a deep dive into how to totally nail those answers. We're going beyond the usual retail stuff here. Think vintage treasures, sustainability cred, and building a community vibe.
Yeah, it's not just managing staff and inventory, it's curating a collection with personality.
Yeah.
That means knowing trends, pricing like a pro, and maybe even having some restoration skills.
Okay, let's jump right into some sample questions you might get hit with and how to make your answers really stand out.
Hmm.
First up, can you tell us about your experience in managing a secondhand shop?
The classic.
Right.
It seems simple, but it's your chance to showcase how your experience directly relates to what this shop needs. So instead of just listing past roles, think about what jumps out from their job description. Do they emphasize online sales? Or do they have a super specific niche, like vintage designer bags or antique furniture?
So it's about highlighting the parts of your experience that resonate with their priorities.
Exactly.
So let's say you managed inventory at a previous shop. Instead of just saying that, could you give a specific example?
Absolutely. You could say, at my previous shop, I noticed our vintage clothing section wasn't performing as well as it could. So I implemented a new merchandising strategy focusing on visual storytelling and social media promotion, and we saw a 15% increase in sales within 3 months.
Wow, that's way more impactful than just saying, I managed inventory. It shows you can take initiative and make a real difference.
Exactly. And be ready for follow-up questions that dig deeper into your experience.
Okay.
They might ask, what were some unique challenges at that shop and how did you overcome them?
Ooh, good one. It feels like they're trying to see how you handle the unexpected.
They are. This is your chance to demonstrate problem-solving skills. Maybe you had to deal with a sudden influx of donations or a tricky situation with a supplier. Share how you assessed the situation, came up with a solution, and got things back on track.
It shows you can think on your feet and stay calm under pressure, which is super valuable in a fast-paced environment.
Okay, on to question number 2. How do you ensure that the secondhand shop is well-stocked with quality merchandise?
This is where you get to talk about your passion for sourcing.
Yes.
But it's not just about finding cool stuff. They want to see that you understand how to maintain a desirable inventory that appeals to their specific customer base.
So it's a balance between quality and affordability,
Right.
and maybe even knowing how to spot those hidden gems that become bestsellers.
Yes. You can talk about your experience attending estate sales and auctions, but also highlight any unique approaches you've taken. Perhaps you've built relationships with local collectors or consignment shops to source those one-of-a-kind pieces.
Yeah, I bet you have some great stories about finding those amazing pieces. What's your secret weapon for sourcing those hidden gems?
For me, it's about staying curious and building a network. I make a point of connecting with people who share a passion for vintage and antiques. Sometimes the best finds come from unexpected places. It's like you're a treasure hunter. Okay, so you've got the shop stocked with amazing finds. Now, how do you make sure they fly off the shelves? That leads us to question number 3. How do you motivate and manage your staff to meet sales targets and provide excellent customer service?
This is where your leadership skills come into play. Secondhand shops are all about the people, both your staff and your customers. They want to hear how you create a positive and productive work environment that translates into a great customer experience.
Yeah, it feels like more than just setting targets. How do you foster that passion and knowledge in your team?
It's about creating a culture of shared goals and open communication. I like to involve my team in the decision-making process, especially when it comes to merchandising and curating collections. It gives them a sense of ownership and empowers them to use their expertise.
That makes sense. You're not just managing them, you're collaborating with them. And speaking of challenges, I bet managing customer interactions can get tricky sometimes, especially in a secondhand shop where people might be haggling or have concerns about the condition of an item.
Absolutely. Be prepared to answer a follow-up question. Like, difficult customer situations are bound to happen. How do you train your staff to handle them with grace and protect the shop's reputation?
Okay, that's a tough one. It feels like a balancing act between customer satisfaction and sticking to your shop's policies.
It is, but it's also an opportunity to showcase your approach to customer service and conflict resolution. Explain how you empower your team to de-escalate situations, find solutions, and turn a potentially negative experience into a positive one. For example, you could say, I make sure my staff is trained to listen actively to customer concerns, offer solutions within our policies, and always maintain a respectful and helpful attitude.
That sounds like a great approach.
Yeah.
It's about empowering your team to be problem solvers, not just rule followers. Okay, let's move on to a question that might not be the most glamorous, but it's super important. How do you ensure that the secondhand shop is in compliance with relevant regulations and safety standards?
This question is all about demonstrating your responsibility and attention to detail. They want to see that you understand the legal and ethical side of running a secondhand shop.
So it's not just about finding cool vintage stuff. It's about knowing what's safe to sell right.
Right. Think about things like fire safety regulations, electrical checks for appliances, and knowing which items can't be resold for safety or legal reasons.
It shows you're not just focused on the creative side, you're thinking about the practicalities of running a safe and ethical business.
Exactly. And be prepared for follow-up questions that test your knowledge of specific regulations or your process for staying updated. They might ask, what's your process for ensuring all donated items are properly sanitized and safe for resale?
That's a great example.
Uh-huh.
And she shows you're thinking about the health and well-being of your customers, which is super important.
You could even mention any relevant certifications you have, like first aid or safety training. It shows you're proactive and committed to maintaining a safe environment for both staff and customers.
All right, let's lighten things up a bit with a question that everyone can relate to. Can you tell us about a time when you had to deal with a difficult customer? Everyone has at least one of those stories.
This question is all about how you handle conflict and maintain professionalism under pressure. And remember, it's not about bad-mouthing the customer.
Right.
Right?
It's about showcasing your problem-solving skills and your empathy.
Exactly. Choose a story that highlights a challenging situation, but focuses on the positive steps you took to resolve it. Maybe you had a customer who was insistent on returning an item that was clearly damaged after purchase, or someone who wouldn't stop haggling even after you'd explained your pricing policy.
And what if they ask a follow-up question, like what did you learn from that experience and how has it shaped your approach to customer interactions?
Sure. That's your chance to show that you're always learning and growing as a manager. Reflect on the situation and how you've adapted your approach to prevent similar situations from arising in the future. You could say something like, that experience taught me the importance of setting clear expectations up front and documenting all customer interactions to avoid misunderstandings.
So it's not just about dealing with the difficult customer in the moment. It's about using that experience to improve your overall customer service strategy.
Exactly. Okay, ready to crunch some numbers.
Bring it on. Question number 6. How do you manage the financial aspects of running a secondhand shop?
This is your time to prove you're not just a creative soul. You can handle the financial side of things too. They want to assess your financial literacy and your ability to make sound business decisions.
So they're looking for someone who can create and manage budgets, analyze sales data, and understand profit margins right.
Yes. And remember, secondhand shops have unique financial considerations. You might be dealing with fluctuating inventory levels, varying profit margins depending on the items you source, and the need to balance affordability with profitability.
That sounds like a lot to juggle.
Yeah.
What kind of specific skills or experiences could you highlight here?
Talk about your comfort level with using technology for financial management, like point-of-sale systems and inventory tracking software. Mention any experience you have with analyzing sales data to identify trends and opportunities for improvement. You could even talk about your approach to pricing, especially how you balance making a profit with staying true to the shop's mission of affordability and accessibility.
It's about showing them you can make smart financial decisions that benefit both the shop and its customers, and that you're comfortable using the tools and technologies that are essential for running a modern retail business.
Exactly. All right, ready to talk about creating that special secondhand shopping experience?
Absolutely. Question number 7. How do you ensure that the secondhand shop provides a positive and welcoming atmosphere for customers?
This question is where your love for the secondhand aesthetic comes to life. It's about creating a space that is visually appealing, well-organized, and inviting to customers.
So they're looking for someone who understands the importance of visual merchandising, right?
Right. Talk about how you would approach the layout of the shop, the use of lighting and music, and the overall vibe you want to create. You could even mention any experience you have with creating themed displays or incorporating unique elements that reflect the character of the shop and the community it serves.
It's about creating a destination, not just a store. And fostering a sense of community is important too, right?
Absolutely. Mention any ideas you have for hosting events, partnering with local artists or makers, or using social media to connect with customers and build a loyal following.
It's about creating an experience that goes beyond just buying and selling. It's about curating, connecting, and inspiring.
Well said. And be ready for follow-up questions that delve into how you would cater to different types of customers. They might ask, how would you create an experience that appeals to both bargain hunters and collectors?
Ooh, that's a great question. It's about finding that sweet spot where everyone feels welcome and can discover something special.
Exactly. Okay, ready for our final question.
Bring it on. What's next?
How do you stay up to date on current trends and market demand in the secondhand retail industry?
This feels like they want to know if you're truly passionate about the secondhand world and committed to staying ahead of the curve.
Exactly. Secondhand is hot right now, but trends change quickly. This is your chance to showcase your knowledge and enthusiasm for the industry. Mention specific publications, websites, or influencers you follow.
Maybe you attend trade shows or belong to professional organizations like the National Association of Resale and Thrift Shops.
Those are great examples. And be prepared to answer a follow-up question like, what's a recent trend you've noticed, and how would you incorporate it into the shop's strategy?
That's a great opportunity to show you're not just following trends, you're anticipating them and ready to adapt. Speaking of adapting, let's talk about how RoleCatcher's AI can take your interview prep to the next level.
RoleCatcher can be a game changer. It's like having a personalized interview coach in your pocket.
Okay, I'm intrigued. How does it work?
It starts with your resume. You upload your current resume and the job description, and RoleCatcher's AI analyzes both to find the keywords and skills that matter most for this specific role.
So it's not just about having a generic resume. It helps you tailor it to exactly what this employer is looking for.
Precisely. The AI actually suggests edits and additions to make your resume more impactful. It might highlight specific achievements from your past roles that align with the job description, or suggest adding keywords that recruiters often search for. It's like having a professional resume writer by your side.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
It takes out all the guesswork of figuring out what to include and what to leave out.
Yeah.
But what about the actual interview practice? How can RoleCatcher help with that?
This is where it gets really cool. RoleCatcher has a feature called Interview Practice, where you can actually practice answering common interview questions out loud and get AI-powered feedback.
Wait, so you're talking to the computer?
Exactly. You choose a question, and then you can either type or speak your answer. The AI analyzes your response, your tone of voice, even your body language if you choose to record a video, and it gives you personalized feedback on how to improve.
That's wild. So it's not just about what you say, it's about how you say it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It might point out if you're using filler words too much, if your tone is too flat, or if you're not making enough eye contact. It's like having a mock interview with an expert, but you can do it anytime, anywhere.
That's a game changer for anyone who gets nervous about interviews. You can practice until you feel confident and polished.
And the best part is RoleCatcher has a ton of resources specifically for secondhand shop manager roles. They've analyzed tons of job descriptions and interview questions to create a database of the most common topics and challenges.
So it's not just general interview advice, it's tailored to the specific demands of this job.
Exactly. You can even practice answering those tricky questions about sourcing merchandise managing staff or dealing with difficult customers and get feedback that's relevant to the secondhand retail world.
Okay, I'm sold. RoleCatcher sounds like an essential tool for anyone who wants to ace their secondhand shop manager interview.
It really is. And remember, it's not about giving robotic, pre-programmed answers. It's about using AI to refine your own unique skills and experience and showcase them in a way that resonates with the employer.
It's about finding that perfect balance between authenticity and strategy.
Exactly. Speaking of strategy, let's dive a little deeper into some insights from the Secondhand Shop Manager Career Guide on RoleCatcher. Remember, these insights can help you frame your responses in a way that shows you truly understand the industry and the specific demands of this role.
Perfect. It's about going beyond just answering the questions. It's about showing them you've got the bigger picture in mind.
The Career Guide emphasizes the importance of understanding the nuances of pricing in the secondhand market. It's not just about slapping a price tag on an item, it's about understanding its value, its condition, and what the market will bear.
That makes sense. It's a different mindset than traditional retail where everything is brand new and has a set price.
Exactly. You need to be able to assess the quality and desirability of pre-owned items and develop a pricing strategy that balances profitability with affordability. The guide suggests considering different pricing models like tiered pricing based on condition or using a sliding scale for negotiation.
That's interesting. There's a lot more strategy involved than I initially thought.
Absolutely. And the guide also touches on the importance of having a system for managing donated goods, which can be a significant source of inventory for many secondhand shops.
I can imagine that can get overwhelming, especially if you're getting a lot of donations.
It can be. The guide recommends establishing clear guidelines for accepting donations, developing a process for sorting and pricing items, and even having a plan for ethically disposing of items that can't be sold.
So it's not just about taking everything that comes in.
Yeah.
You need to be selective and strategic about what you accept and how you manage it.
Right. And the guide also highlights the importance of inventory turnover, which is a key metric for measuring the efficiency of your inventory management.
Okay, can you break down what inventory turnover means in the context of a secondhand shop?
Essentially, it's how quickly you're selling the items in your inventory. A high turnover rate means you're selling items quickly, which is generally a good thing.
So it's not just about having a lot of stuff. It's about having the right stuff that people want to buy.
Exactly. And to improve your turnover rate, you need to be strategic about sourcing, pricing, and even merchandising your inventory. The guide recommends using data analysis to track which items are selling well and which ones are lagging behind, so you can adjust your strategy accordingly.
It's like being a detective figuring out what's hot and what's not.
Exactly. And the guide also reminds us that managing a secondhand shop is not without its unique challenges. You might be dealing with limited storage space, inconsistent income streams, or the ethical considerations of handling donated goods.
And of course, those occasional difficult customers we talked about earlier.
Yeah. Right. But the guide emphasizes that these challenges are also opportunities for growth and innovation. By embracing these challenges and finding creative solutions, you can build a thriving and sustainable business.
That's inspiring. It's about seeing the challenges not as roadblocks, but as stepping stones to success.
Absolutely. And remember, you don't have to figure it all out on your own. RoleCatcher's Career Guide and AI-powered tools are there to support you every step of the way.
Speaking of RoleCatcher, you mentioned a career stages section earlier. Can you tell us more about that?
Absolutely. This section is fantastic for anyone who wants to envision their long-term career path in secondhand retail.
So you're not just applying for a job, you're mapping out your future.
Exactly. RoleCatcher's Career Stages breaks down the typical progression of a secondhand shop manager from those entry-level positions all the way to senior management roles. It even provides example profiles for each stage, which is super helpful to see what someone at that level might be doing.
Okay, let's start at the beginning. Where do most people start their journey in this field?
The most common entry points are shop assistant roles or even volunteer positions. It's all about getting that hands-on experience and learning the ins and outs of the secondhand world.
So you're talking about assisting customers, organizing merchandise, and maybe even helping with basic pricing.
Exactly. It's about immersing yourself in the environment, understanding the flow of merchandise, and developing a keen eye for quality and value.
And the career guide actually provides examples of real people who started at these entry-level positions and worked their way up, right?
Yes. It's inspiring to see how those early experiences shaped their careers and led them to where they are now.
Okay, so you've mastered the art of sorting vintage teas and diffusing a haggling standoff. What's the next step up the ladder?
As you gain experience and demonstrate your skills, you might move into a shop supervisor role. This is where you start to take on more responsibility for things like opening and closing the shop, training new staff, and handling customer issues.
So you're starting to develop those leadership and problem-solving skills that are so crucial for a manager.
Absolutely. And you're gaining a deeper understanding of the operational side of the business, from inventory management to visual merchandising to even basic financial reporting.
It's like you're becoming a mini manager, getting ready for the big leagues.
Exactly. And that brings us to the shop manager role, which is what we've been focusing on throughout this deep dive. At this level, you're responsible for the overall success of the shop, from developing sales strategies and managing budgets to building relationships with suppliers and fostering a positive team environment.
It sounds like a challenging but incredibly rewarding role.
It is. And the career guide highlights a variety of paths you can take from there. Some shop managers go on to oversee multiple shops within a region or even move into corporate roles within larger secondhand retail organizations.
So there's definitely room for upward mobility within the industry.
Absolutely. And even if you choose to stay within a single shop, there's still plenty of room for growth.
Yeah.
You could specialize in a certain category like vintage clothing or antique furniture and become the go-to expert in that area.
Or maybe you develop a passion for restoration and become the shop's resident miracle worker,
Yeah.
bringing those tired treasures back to life.
Exactly. There are so many possibilities. And the career guide also mentions the entrepreneurial route. Maybe you dream of opening your own secondhand shop someday.
Ooh, that's the ultimate dream.
Yeah.
And having all this experience under your belt would give you such a strong foundation.
Absolutely. And no matter what path you choose, continuous learning is essential in this industry. Trends change rapidly, new technologies emerge, and ethical sourcing practices are constantly evolving.
And that's where RoleCatcher comes in again, right? With its Career Compass feature and tons of resources for skill development.
Exactly. You can use RoleCatcher to explore related career paths, identify skills you might need to develop, and even find online courses or workshops to help you stay ahead of the curve.
It's like having a personalized career advisor right at your fingertips.
It really is. So as you prepare for that secondhand shop manager interview, remember that you're not just applying for a job, you're embarking on a journey.
It's a journey filled with unique challenges, incredible finds, and the satisfaction of building a sustainable business that connects people with the treasures of the past.
And remember, RoleCatcher is there to support you every step of the way. Use its AI-powered tools to tailor your resume, practice your answers, and go into that interview feeling confident and prepared.
And most importantly, let your passion for the secondhand world shine through. Who knows, maybe you'll inspire the next generation of vintage collectors.
Happy thrifting, everyone!